How's it going, guys? Brian Daneff here, and the New York Yankees lost the American League Division Series to the Boston Red Sox in 4 games. Of course, you already knew that, but I think I just wanted to say that again for my own sanity and my own closure, I guess. Um, this series stunned me, and I'm still pretty numb to it. Um, don't know if that's a good or bad thing. Uh, it didn't go the way I think anyone envisioned. Um, there was still obviously a lot of exciting, intense moments. Um, but, when you look back in 10, 20, 30 years, it's gonna, it didn't come close to 2004, it didn't come close to 2003, didn't come close to 1978, with Bucky Dent. Um, for either team, it wasn't a great series. It wasn't a historic series. It's not going to be a series no one will ever forget. Most of these games were pretty forgettable. Really, only a couple innings across all 4 games were really memorable. Um, and just a lot of puzzling moves made by Yankees manager Aaron Boone, and then also just the Yankees bats falling asleep at, of all places, Yankee Stadium, and they didn't hit a single home run in games 3 or 4. Uh, and again, those were at Yankee Stadium. They had the home field advantage. And there is this. Well, first of all, I want to just talk about the actual series. Game one was the Red Sox. This whole series, and I'll get to it in a bit, but everyone's kind of declaring that the Red Sox proved in this series that they are the far superior franchise and the far superior team, not just this year, but last year, and just, really since 2004. But if you really think about this series, I'm sorry, and maybe I'm just still bitter, and I'm still, I have that Yankee bias a little bit, but the Red Sox really tried to give this series to the Yankees. I said it before the series. I didn't think the Red Sox were unbeatable. I thought they had a lot of flaws, and I still think they have a lot of flaws. And if you don't think that, if you're a Red Sox fan or a baseball fan in general, I don't know what series you watched. The Red Sox have no bullpen. It should have cost them the series. They were lucky it didn't. David Price was predictably terrible when he started against the Yankees at Fenway Park. The Red Sox tried their best to serve this series up to the Yankees on a platter. I don't mean to discredit what they did in the series. They won. They got the bigger hits when it mattered. They hit very well with runners in scoring position. But on the pitching side, the Yankees had runners on base, it felt like, almost every inning of this series. They just couldn't get that big hit to drive them in. So that's my view of the Red Sox. You look at Craig Kimbrell in that 9th inning. Do you feel comfortable with him closing out games against Houston coming up with this ALCS? I really don't. I wouldn't. They have no one to go to him. I mean, in Game 1, Alex Cora had to go to Rick Porcello to get 3 outs in the 8th inning. And then, in Game 4, he had to use Chris Sale. And honestly, if he had stuck with Chris Sale, maybe the Yankees wouldn't have even rallied in that 9th inning to Game 4. But that's, obviously doesn't matter anymore. But, yeah, and I just think this idea that the Red Sox proved their superiority in this series and proved that they do everything right and the Yankees do everything wrong is just not accurate when you look at the series. You want to go by the 108 wins and the Yankees 100 wins, and the fact that they were a much better team in the regular season. Sure, and you want to go back and say, yeah, they've won 3 World Series in the last 15 years, and the Yankees have won 1 in the last 20. That's of course that's not as good. The Red Sox have had a better 20th century so far when you go 21st century when you go by going back to the start of 2004. But something that I think is important to keep in mind for both fan bases. And again, and I say this, not to be, mean or aggressive towards the Red Sox. This is they aren't going to do better than 108 wins. And I don't think they're going to do better than the team they have right now. So what I mean by that is this is their chance. This is their year. If they are going to win a World Series with this team, this core of Mookie Betts and Benintendi and JD Martinez, Chris Sale, David Price, if you want to throw them in there, it's now. It's right now. And again, I don't think the Red Sox are going to get past the Astros in the ALCS. I really don't. I'd be stunned if they did. I'm not saying that they can't play with them and maybe push it to a 6th or 7th game, but with that home field advantage, actually, Houston doesn't have home field advantage, but that aside, the Astros, I think, are the better team and should win this series coming up. The Yankees, just 2 years ago, they rebuilt. They blew up the team, and just 2 years ago, you know who was in the middle of the Yankees lineup? Mark Teixeira and Alex Rodriguez. And it's weird it's weird to me because it feels like it's been 5, 6, 7 years since those ugly kind of Yankee teams where they weren't making the playoffs and everyone was 40 years old. 2 seasons ago. That was it. It was just 2 seasons ago. Few people thought they'd win in 2017. And, at the time in 2016, no one thought, even by 2018, that they would have won 100 games like they did this year. And had a very decent shot at going all the way in a pretty weak American League playoff field. Or I just not that the field was bad, but you know what I mean. There was no competition besides the best 4 or 5 teams. We knew who was going to be in the playoffs in the American League by the end of May. So the Yankees are still on the rise. They should have lost this series. The Red Sox did what they were supposed to do. They were supposed to beat a Yankees team that still, when you look at it, no matter how much you want to say they won 100 games and they had a great season, they're very incomplete. And that was expected of a team that is still kind of in a transition and still trying to find its way. This was supposed to be 2018 was never going to be the Yankees' year. And maybe I'm making an excuse for them. And maybe, again, they could have won this series. They should have if they took advantage of the opportunities the Red Sox gave them. But the Yankees are on the come up. You know what I mean? And the Red Sox are peaking. So I think, and so just to kind of try to compare the franchises now after a 5-game series, or not, best of 5 series that only went 4, I think it's disingenuous, and I don't think it's fair to either team. Because the Red Sox are in a different position than the Yankees. The Red Sox are in a win-now mode. And yes, of course, the Yankees are technically in a win-now mode, and they acquired Giancarlo Stanton over the offseason, and they completely swapped out their coaching staff. They need a lot more to be a true, championship caliber team. And that kind of leads me into my next kind of part of this video is, the Yankees showed in the series that there are a lot of missing parts, and everyone thought, and I thought too, hey, I was seeing through pinstripe colored lenses a little bit there, but they got healthy at the end of the season. That they were literally, everyone was healthy. Everyone they needed to play played in this series. And, it still didn't help them. They were terrible with runners in scoring position. Giancarlo Stanton was, it might be the worst playoff performance I've ever seen out of a Yankee. And that's saying a lot because I've seen some pretty bad ones. Obviously, yes, the Yankees have been successful and they've won series, and I've seen them win the World Series once before in 2009. But this was like A-Rod level bad, and even worse than A-Rod. At least A-Rod looked competent at the plate when he would strike out in big situations and would swing the bat. Stanton just stared at pitches, just looked so overpowered and just not confident in himself at all. And it was really sad to see. And then another thing is the pitching. The bullpen was pretty good. The bullpen, when it was used by Aaron Boone, was good and effective and shut down the Red Sox lineup. But you cannot, no matter how much you believe in the bullpen, no matter how much you believe in bullpenning, you cannot win a World Series in today's game still with your best starters being Masahiro Tanaka, a broken Luis Severino, J Happ, and a CC Sabathia pushing 39 years old, who, that was tough to see. And that was, and it's nice to put your faith in CC, and he's earned these starts in these big games, and he's come up big during the regular season. But in back-to-back years, when you lose a game, an elimination game, because you started 38-year-old CC Sabathia, who labored through 3 or 4 innings and gave up 3 or 4 runs, that's bad. You need to have a better option than that. I love CC. He has come up clutch before, again, as I said. But back-to-back seasons, they gave him the ball in the elimination game, and he didn't get the job done. I don't care if, at the time, and even during the game the other night, I was like, well, he only gave up 3 or 4 runs in 3 or 4 innings, and he didn't get hit hard. But that's the point. It doesn't matter. He still gave up those runs, and that was the Yankees' best option in 2018 was CC Sabathia in an elimination game. That's unacceptable. And I'm not even saying that Severino would have been any better. And I'm not saying that Tanaka would have been that much better. There was a real lack of a true, solid, reliable starter in that rotation. And that's what they need. That's what the Yankees need the most. People are going to look at the hitting, and I get it. There was a lot of terrible at-bats with runners in scoring position. I put a lot of the blame on Stanton. But, yeah, no, up and down the lineup, there were some poor at-bats. They're very right-handed, hitting heavy. They need a lefty power bat that they thought they had with Greg Bird, but obviously they didn't. He wasn't even on the roster for this series. But they need a starting pitcher or two. They need a legitimate number 2 or number 1 starter. I think Luis Severino obviously has ace potential, but he didn't meet that potential in the second half, and then he didn't meet that potential in the postseason either. So it was very upsetting to see. And if the Yankees are going to win a World Series, it's not going to be with this current hodgepodge group of above-average arms, if that makes sense. You look at the Astros, you look at the Red Sox. At least the Red Sox have Chris Sale. The Astros have Justin Verlander, Dallas Keuchel, and Garrett Cole. That's why they won last year, and that's why they very well may win again this year. Is that rotation that they'll know they'll get 5 or 6 solid innings at the least out of these guys. The Yankees were hoping for 5 to 6 good innings at the most out of Tanaka, Severino, and CC. And obviously they had a good bullpen to back that up, but when you don't get that, you're screwed. When Severino only goes 3 1/3, when Sabathia only goes 3, you put yourself in a hole. And they come out of the game and you're down 3 or 4 runs, and it's tough to come out of that hole, and especially against a team like Boston, where that lineup is always a threat. And hey, as bad as their bullpen is, and I still think it is bad, they made good pitches. They executed. They got out of jams, and there's a lot of blame to go around. But I think a big reason the Yankees are not playing still today is because of their starting rotation or the lack thereof. It was a mess this year. It was a mess last year too, and it worked enough, and it was better. Severino was better. CC was a little better. Tanaka was unhittable in October. Not that he had a bad game 2 start, but you know what I mean. So, that's kind of it. There's a lot of work to be done with this Yankees team. The loss itself, it sucks. They really, Craig Kimbrell again, he tried to give them game 4. They should have won that game. Stanton should have done something, not just a strikeout. He should have been able to do something, but he wasn't. And Gary Sanchez almost hit that grand slam. Just ended up being a long fly ball that was caught 5 feet in front of the wall. It was heartbreaking. It was soul crushing. And yeah, the Red Sox got to party on Yankee Stadium's field again. And yeah, the Yankees are going to have to endure an entire offseason of people saying how great the Red Sox are and how bad the Yankees are, and how much better the Red Sox are as an organization. But again, I will fight people on that. I don't believe that. I think the Red Sox, again, are peaking. I think they have a terrible bullpen. Besides Chris Sale, their rotation's shaky. And I don't think this is as good as it's going to get for them. And whereas the Yankees, they're going to get better. They are. They're going to make some signings. They're going to make some splashes in free agency. They're going to have a stronger team in 2019. That's a guarantee. You know, the Yankees won't. They can't afford to go into next season with the same team. So changes will be made, and changes will be made for the better. And people should watch out. And I think the Yankees are now, you know, they've had these stinging postseason losses, and you know, rookies like Andujar and Torres got their postseason experience this year, and they're a battle-tested team now that hasn't won anything yet, but I think they will. I think they will be very successful very soon. I think as early as next year. You know, if they sign a Machado or a Harper, or and you know, sign a Patrick Corbin, or make some other deal for a big name starter, you try to find me a weakness in that Yankees team going into 2019, and let me know when you do, because I don't think I'd be able to find one if they do make the moves that I think they have to and that I think they will make. So it's a frustrating loss. It's a frustrating way to end a season. Obviously to Boston, it makes it even worse. But I'm encouraged. I'm excited for the Yankees' future, and I think you know, they're going to learn from this, and they're going to get better, and I think only good will end up coming out of this. So that's all I have to say. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll probably make some videos over the offseason when the Yankees make some big headlines. But yeah, this was a quicker postseason than I would have liked for the Yankees. But what are you going to do? And again, I think they'll be back in 2019 and better than ever. So that's pretty exciting to think about. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Follow me on Twitter at Brian T. Daneff. And yeah, I'll see you next time.